Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Talk Studio, the podcast where we help you speak English with confidence and clarity. I'm Jake.
And I'm Emma. It is so great to be here with you all today. Jake, I want to start with a question before we even begin. What do you think about mornings? Are you a morning person or a night person?
Interesting start. Right into it, Emma. Well, honestly, in my opinion, mornings are magical. Absolutely magical. I love them. Fresh start, quiet world, good coffee, the day ahead of you, full of possibility.
See, I completely disagree. For me, the evening is when I feel most creative and alive. My best ideas come after 9 o'clock at night.
And that is perfectly fine. We can have different opinions and both be right for ourselves. And actually, that is exactly what today's episode is all about.
Yes, today we are talking about how to express your opinion in English. This is one of the most important skills for everyday conversations, work meetings, job interviews, social situations, basically everywhere.
Before we dive in, listeners, if you enjoy English Talk Studio, please hit the like button right now. It takes literally 1 second, and it means everything to us. It helps the algorithm show our podcast to more people who are learning English.
And subscribe. We are building a wonderful community of English learners from all around the world, and we genuinely want you to be part of it.
Leave us a comment, too. After today's episode, we want you to tell us, are you a morning person or an evening person? And we want you to use one of today's opinion phrases in your answer. That is your homework.
Perfect homework. Okay, so why is expressing opinions difficult for some English learners?
I think there are really two main reasons. One, learners do not have the specific phrases they need, so they hesitate. And two, they are worried about saying something wrong or being judged or offending someone.
That is exactly right. And the second reason is so understandable. In some cultures, expressing a strong personal opinion directly can seem rude or arrogant. So learners bring that caution into their English conversations.
But here is the truth. In most English-speaking contexts, people genuinely want to hear what you think. A conversation where one person just agrees with everything is actually quite boring.
And people are not judging your grammar when you share an opinion. They are thinking about the idea you are sharing. So let go of that fear.
Exactly. So let's give you the language tools you need to share those ideas confidently and appropriately.
Let's start with the most basic opinion phrases. These are your go-to starters. I think, I believe, in my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, and personally I feel.
These are all great, and there is a subtle but real difference between them in terms of strength and formality.
I think is your most casual, everyday phrase. You use it for light topics, quick opinions, everyday conversations. I think this coffee place is better than the one down the street. Very casual.
I believe is slightly stronger. It implies a considered position, something you have thought about. I believe that kindness is more important than intelligence. A bit more serious.
In my opinion is formal and clear. It signals that what follows is your personal view, not a fact. Very useful in professional or academic settings. In my opinion, the second proposal is stronger.
As far as I'm concerned, is the strongest of the group. It means this is my definite view. I feel strongly about this. As far as I'm concerned, the project should have been finished 2 weeks ago. You can hear the conviction in that.
And personally, I feel is warm and a little softer. It is a good one for sensitive topics. Personally, I feel that everyone deserves a second chance. It invites others to share their view, too.
Now, let me give a few real-world examples so you can hear these in context. I think working from home is more productive for most people. In my opinion, learning a language takes at least 2 years of serious, consistent practice. Personally, I feel that the most important quality in a friend is reliability.
Beautiful examples. Now, what about agreeing with someone else's opinion? Because conversations are not just about sharing your own view. They are about responding to others.
Agreeing is just as important.
And there is a range of agreement phrases depending on how strongly you agree. Light agreement? That's a fair point. I can see where you're coming from. Moderate agreement? I agree with you. That makes sense. I think you're right.
Strong agreement? I completely agree. Absolutely. Exactly. That is precisely what I think too. You've hit the nail on the head.
Hit the nail on the head. That is a great idiom for when someone says something perfectly. You've hit the nail on the head means you have expressed exactly the right idea.
And these agreement phrases are not just politeness. They are what we call conversation glue. They keep the conversation moving forward and signal to the other person that you are engaged and listening.
Now, what about when you disagree? This is where many learners either go silent and say nothing, or they overcorrect and say something too blunt.
Right. Many learners think they only have two options: agree with everything or be rude. But there is a whole middle ground: polite, confident disagreement.
The key is to soften your disagreement, to separate the idea from the person. You are not saying you are wrong. You are saying, I see things a little differently.
The most useful phrases for this are, I see your point, but that's an interesting perspective. However, I'm not sure I entirely agree. I understand what you mean, but I take your point, though I would argue that.
These phrases do something very clever. They first acknowledge what the other person said. I see your point. I understand what you mean. And then they introduce your different view, so the other person does not feel attacked.
Let me show the difference between harsh disagreement and polite disagreement, using the same idea. Harsh. No, that's completely wrong. Mornings are obviously better. Polite. I see your point about evenings being creative, but personally, I find that my best energy is in the morning.
You can hear how completely different those feel. The second one is honest. It still disagrees, but it is respectful, and it keeps the conversation open.
And importantly, the second version is more persuasive. People are more likely to actually consider your view if you do not make them feel attacked.
Another useful skill is what we call partial agreement, agreeing with part of what someone says while adding a different perspective. Phrases like, you're right that, but I also think, I agree up to a point, however, that's true to an extent, though.
For example, you're right that working from home saves time on commuting, but I also think it can make it harder to separate work from personal life. That shows you have listened, you have thought carefully, and you have a nuanced view.
Nuanced. That means seeing more than one side of something, recognizing complexity. And in English professional and academic settings, being nuanced is considered a sign of intelligence and maturity.
Now, let me tell you about our listener story today. This one is from Carlos in Mexico. Carlos works in sales and regularly has meetings in English with international clients from different countries.
Carlos wrote, before I learned these opinion phrases, I would just nod and agree with everything in meetings because I did not know how to disagree politely in English. I was afraid of seeming rude. But after practicing with English Talk Studio, I used the phrase, I see your point, but I think we should also consider in a real meeting with a client. My manager called me afterward and told me I had sounded very professional and very confident.
Carlos, that is a huge, meaningful moment. Going from nodding along silently to confidently and politely steering a professional conversation, that is real, tangible growth.
And it shows that the right phrase at the right moment can completely change how you are perceived by others. One sentence, Carlos, one sentence made a real difference.
Words are powerful. The right words in the right context open doors.
Carlos, we are so proud of you. Keep using those phrases.
Listeners, remember this. You have valuable opinions. You have thoughts, ideas, experiences, and perspectives that are worth sharing. English is simply the tool to share them with a wider audience.
And you now have the tool. Let's do a quick final summary. For giving opinions, I think, I believe, in my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, personally, I feel. For agreeing, I completely agree. That's a great point. Exactly. You've hit the nail on the head. For polite disagreement, I see your point, but I'm not sure I entirely agree. That's interesting, however. For partial agreement, you're right but I also think I agree up to a point, though.
That is your full toolkit for today. Write those down, practice them with a friend, use them in your next English conversation.
Thank you so much for joining us at English Talk Studio today. You are a wonderful community.
Please like this episode, subscribe, and leave a comment. Are you a morning or evening person? Use one of today's phrases in your answer. We are going to read every single one.
We cannot wait. Goodbye, Emma.
Goodbye, Jake. Bye, everyone. Speak your mind, be confident, and keep enjoying English.